Command, this is Guardsman Hannon. Battle report, over. Guardsman Hannon, send over. Command, Inquisitor Eisenhorn has instructed us to take up arms against fellow guardsmen, the Cadians. This can't be right. They even have their own Inquisitor, Lord Commissar, and the famous Knight Commander Pask. Inquisitor Eisenhorn has ordered us to achieve the mission battle lines with the secondary objectives of engage all fronts, know prisoners, and retrieve Octarius data. The men are confused. What do we do? Guardsman Hannon, follow the unquestioning wisdom of the Inquisitor Eisenhorn. What do we know of the enemy's intentions? Command, intelligence reports they wish to deny our mission and achieve stranglehold, bring it down, and also retrieve Octarius data. We of the Snow Catachans 317th Battalion will carry out our duties as the Emperor demands it, but we hope the Cadians see the errors of their way and surrender to us. Over. Guardsman Hannon, as do we, but follow the guidance of Inquisitor Eisenhorn. Out. Hi everyone, you heard right. Guard versus guard, with me taking 2,000 points with my Snow Catachans with Inquisitor Eisenhorn and Demon Host. I've taken a brigade with a Catachan regimental doctrine led by Colonel Strachan and 2 tank commanders. I've got 6 bone basic infantry squads, a 5-man Bulgrim blob, command squad, plasma equipped special weapons squad, Sergeant Harker and the most loyal bodyguard, Not Dead Dog. I take 1 armoured sentinel, 2 individual scout sentinels, a basilisk, full payload manticore, and a 3 mortar squad which I borrowed from my opponent, as well as a single triple flamer demolisher Lemon Russ. I start on 11 command points. My opponent, subscriber, patron and fellow Astra Militarum fanboy is Callum or Guardsman Glenn, taking a battalion of beautifully painted miniatures. He's kitbashed and used extensive bits from Anvil Industries. He's going for a Tanner first and only look, and they look absolutely outstanding. He's playing them as Cadians in a battalion led by Knight Commander Pask, a Lord Commissar, Tank Commander with the Gatekeeper Battle Cannon Relic. He's got a 22-man conscript blob, 5 infantry squads with Voxcasters, an Astropath casting Psychic Barrier, a mighty 8-man Bulgrim blob, 3 Crusaders, a Ministorum Priest, a platoon commander with Derek's Autovox Servo Skull, a single Scout Sentinel, 1 full payload Manticore, and a Valkyrie. He also has a patrol of signs of the 9th Iotan Gorgonnes with a Tempestus Prime, 2 hotshot lasgun squads, and a command squad equipped with melter guns. He also has an Inquisitor which is beautifully converted, armed with a bolt pistol and chainsword. Callum starts on 7 command points. Deployment saw us both take full advantage of the available cover, keeping as many units out of line of sight, given we both had battle cannon equipped tank commanders. I stuck my Manticore, Basilisk, Heavy Weapons Squad and Sergeant Harker, Bulgrims and Sentinels on my left flank, whilst the centre and right was held by my infantry squad supported by Eisenhorn, Strachan and Not Dead Dog. I had the loose idea of trying to hold the bottom centre objective with my Bulgrims and Sentinels whilst giving Callum the centre top objective. I had each tank commander on both my left and right flanks behind cover, ready to pop out and take pot shots. I also stuck my command squad, 1 infantry squad and the Demolisher Lemon Russ in reinforcements, costing me 2 command points. Callum had his infantry squad spread evenly across his deployment zone, the Crusaders, Bulgrims, Astropath and Priests in the centre, with the Lord Commissar and conscripts on his right flank as we look at it. His Manticore was on his right flank, and also along with the Gatekeeper equipped tank commander, whilst Pask with his Demolisher siege cannon was on the left flank. He had his single Scout Sentinel on his forward left flank, and also the Valkyrie carrying the Tempestus Prime, 4-man command squad and a single 6-man Scion squad. Yet the other 5-man Scion squad in Deep Strike. First turn went to Callum and his Scout Sentinels got to take their first pre-game move and onto the bottom centre objective. This was pretty important as he was already on his way to achieving Stranglehold. My Scout Sentinels also did their pre-game move, but given they can't be within 9 inches of an enemy unit, meant they were nowhere near that objective. It didn't feel that significant at the time, but as you'll see, it certainly was. His movement phase saw his conscripts advance a full 12 inches onto the centre top objective, with the Lord Commissar and Inquisitor also following. He advanced his Bulgrims, Crusaders and supporting characters up the middle, and rocketed his Valkyrie right onto my objective, which I wasn't expecting. He then advanced a single infantry squad towards the bottom centre objective as well. Psychic phase saw him cast Psychic Barrier on the Bulgrims, and warding Incarnation on the conscripts, giving them a 5+ invul save. Order saw the infantry squad move onto the bottom objective via move, benefiting from the range of the Voxcasters, and the tank commanders both popping smoke. His shooting phase saw his Manticore target my Manticore and used the stratagem load, fire, reload for 2 command points, giving him 7 shots thanks to the 2 6s he rolled, and inflicting 9 wounds, leaving mine on 2 wounds only. His Valkyrie fired its rocket pods, heavy bolters and multi-lasers onto an infantry squad and the mortar squad, and caused a single mortar team to die. A very short shooting phase as far as Astra Militarum is concerned, but end of his turn he already had retrieved 1 Octarius data and had achieved 3 victory points already from Stranglehold. My turn 1 in the move phase, I moved the Scout Sentinels onto the bottom objective and also the Bulgrams. I spread out the 5 infantry squads on the right flank, being aware of his single Scion squad in deep strike and not giving his Bulgrams a possible charge. Pushing his Bulgrams up the centre was a clever move, as their threat of a charge stopped me from moving towards either objective too aggressively. Psychic phase saw Inquisitor Eisenhorn peel off 3 mortal wounds on the Valkyrie from Smite, and actually giving himself 2 mortal wounds from Perils of the Warp, after I rerolled the cast on Castigation, but at least inflicting another 3 mortal wounds on the Valkyrie, leaving it only with 8 wounds. The Scout Sentinels cooked only 3 infantry on the bottom objective, and the mortars killed off 1 more. I put the tank commander on the right flank using Hail of Fire into the Valkyrie, blowing it out of the sky. Cannon then unfortunately rolled a bunch of 1s, killing off 4 of the occupants. They piled out, and the 3 infantry squads sprayed them with las gunfire, killing off another 2. The tank commander on the left flank killed off 2 Bulgrams, defeating their 3+ invul saves, and I fired the Basilisk into the exposed Scions. I was worried about their melter guns, chewing up my tank commanders or sentinels, and getting early bring it down points. The Manticore took revenge on Cadian's Manticore, after I used Relentless to get it back up to its top performance profile. I rolled in a lovely 11 shots, thanks to the Cadian Legion trait, and then rerolling hit scores of 1, thanks to the nearby Sergeant Harker. This saw Cadian's Manticore go pop, and my Manticore take revenge. My charge phase, and I got both Scout Sentinels into the infantry squad on the bottom centre objective, but crucially failed to get the Bulgrams in after a command reroll. The Sentinels killed off a single Guardsman, and they dealt back a single wound. End of my turn, and I had 2 victory points for engage all fronts, and retreat Octarius data once. This put our scores at 3 victory points to Callum, and 2 to me. Turn 2 and Callum further moved the conscript blob up, and also the Bulgram blob, which was now down to 6 models. His Crusaders and supporting characters also moved up, and he fell back the squad in melee with the Sentinels. He then moved up another infantry squad in readiness to issue move to get back on that objective. Psychic phase, he cast Fearless again on the conscripts and Night Shroud on the Bulgrams. His shooting phase, and he issued tank orders, and as expected, move onto the infantry squad, pushing it back onto the bottom objective. His conscripts then sprayed 22 las guns into one of my infantry squads, where I used Take Cover to give him a 4+ save. After the light show, 4 had died, and he continued to pick away at them with the Lonely Scions, and then flattened one of my Scout Sentinels with Knight Commander Pask's Demolisher Cannon. To my delight, it exploded, killing off 2 of his infantry. The other Sentinel then evaporated under las cannon and multi-melter fire. His tank commander on his right flank had manoeuvred out of cover, and then proceeded to fire its battle cannon into an infantry squad full of my Patrons. Callum murdered 5 Patrons. Bad Callum. His charge phase, and the Lonely Scions charged into my infantry squad holding the centre objective. Trading blows, killing off one of them, before 11 attacks killed off one of them in return. End of Callum's turn 2, and he scored a handsome 15 victory points for primary, 3 for Stranglehold, 2 for Bring It Down, and he achieved 2 retrieve Octarius data. My turn 2, I moved the Bulgrams and Armoured Sentinel up, and crawled the left-hand flank tank commander. My special weapon squad moved on the top of the building to get their plasma guns in the fight, and I shuffled the infantry squads on my right flank. I deployed the first of my reinforcements, being the 4-man command squad, in Callum's right table quarter to sneakily perform Retrieve Octarius data. Inquisitor Eisenhorn then attempted to smite the conscripts, only to be denied by Callum's Inquisitor. Castigation did go off and killed a single Crusader. Order saw Colonel Strachan order front rank fire, second rank fire, and then about 50 shots went into the conscripts. Thanks to them being in cover, only 6 died, which was disappointing. I then proceeded to pick off the Crusaders with a special weapons squad, with some of my veteran patrons performing very well. My tank commander on left flank ploughed everything into the Bulgars, managing to squish 2 of them. The Manticore and Basilisk then proceeded to bombard Knight Commander Pask. After some pretty rubbish number of shot throws, I managed to take off only 4 wounds, with the new 2+ save on Lehman Russes actually making a real difference, in particular against the Manticore with its AP -2. My charge phase and the Sentinel did a suicide charge into the Bulgrams, the Patron Infantry Squad into the Lone Tempestus Prime, and the Bulgrams failed a crucial charge after a command reroll into Callum's squad holding the bottom centre objective. Unsurprisingly, Callum's Bulgrams flattened the Armoured Sentinel, and now look at it, I'm not actually sure why I charged into them. The Patrons bayoneted off 3 wounds of the Tempestus Prime, and the Lone Sentinel finally died against the Infantry Squad holding my centre objective. Ended my turn 2, and I scored only 5 on primaries and another 2 on engage on fronts, giving me a total score of only 7. This meant our scores were sitting at 21 for Callum and only 9 for me. Poop. We're on to turn 3, and Callum had some strong forward momentum. He moved up the remaining 2 Bulgrams after 2 failed the previous leadership test, shuffled the 2 infantry squads on the centre bottom objective, and advanced Knight Commander Pask up his left flank. He also dropped in his remaining scions in my rear left table quarter. His psychic phase saw his Inquisitor fail Fearless on the conscripts, and Eisenhorn denied Warding Incarnation. Callum then tried casting Psychic Barrier on the conscripts with his Astropath, only for Eisenhorn to also deny that, clearly showing he was the Psyker of the day. His shooting phase and his orders saw Knight Commander Pask give himself pound them to dust, and other infantry squad advance on his left flank from move. Knight Commander Pask then used his stratagem Shot Troops with 2 CP, smashing into the Bulgrams. This meant Pask was hitting on 2s and still rerolling 1s, thanks to the Cadian Legion trait. Callum ploughed a boatload of shots into the Bulgrams, with me having to save 9 saving throws. I then managed to save all but 1 on their 4+ invul save, which was very pleasing. He then cleared out the 4-man command squad in his right table quarter with an infantry squad, and then used Hail of Fire on his tank commander into my tank commander on my left flank. I had 6 4+ saves, where I failed 4, but on a reroll I managed to save it. Callum's tank commander had the Gatekeeper Battle Cannon relic, delivering a clean 9 wounds. His tank commander then also wiped out 6 infantry with its heavy bolters. His conscripts then sprayed their las guns into an infantry squad, rerolling all their hit rolls given they'd remained stationary as Cadians and been given the order take aim. They removed 2 more of my infantry on the right flank. His charge phase and his Bulgrams went straight into my infantry, picking on his Tempestus Prime, completely wiping them out before consolidating onto my objective. With nothing else in melee, his turn was complete, and he had scored 15 on primaries, 3 on Stranglehold, and had retrieved Octarius 3 times. My turn 3, and I really had to get Callum off his objectives. We agreed to allow my reinforcements to come in at the beginning of the movement phase, with the demolished Lehman Russ and single infantry squad. The Russ came in on the right flank, ready to burn out the conscripts, and Callum had effectively screened his table quarters, and that meant my last infantry squad came in behind my Bulgrams on my left flank. The Bulgrams then moved up onto his centre bottom objective, and I then dropped in Eisenhorn's Demon Host, which had to be deployed within 9 inches of him. I used an old Etel Eldar miniature to represent a Demon Host. I moved my Manticore out of cover to have direct line of sight on Knight Commander Pask, and moved the remnants of my infantry squads up, and Nort Dead Dog and Colonel Strachan moved towards the last 2 Bulgrams on my centre objective. My Psychic Phase and Eisenhorn smited the Tempestus Prime, removing his last wound. He also used Castigation and took off 2 wounds from the lone Minister and Priest. Shooting Phase, and I picked off the Scions in my table quarter. I then hit Knight Commander Pask on my Manticore, including a Hunter Killer missile which didn't wound, and I got 11 shots but only managed to get 1 to wound after Callum rolled 4 of the 5 4+ saves. Then I had to put the wounded tank commander into Pask as well, taking a further 3 wounds off him. The Basilisk then finally finished him off, removing his last 2 wounds. Pask really stuck around, taking a Manticore, tank commander and Basilisk to kill him. Strong evidence that the 2+ save on Lehman Russ certainly does actually make a difference. The Demolisher then bathed the conscripts in 15 auto-hitting heavy flamer shots, removing 8 of them, and the Demolisher cannon evaporated 2 more. My other tank commander on my right flank also fired into Callum's tank commander, but didn't actually do any wounds. My charge phase and my Bolgrams yet again failed the charge roll, getting themselves into the infantry squad holding his bottom centre objective. Not Dead Dog and Colonel Strachan charged into the Bolgrams on my centre objective, and I also got the remnants of one of my infantry squads into the conscripts, with Callum then heroically intervening his Inquisitor into them. Not Dead Dog and Colonel Strachan then managed to do absolutely no wounds on the remaining Bolgrams, and a single conscript was killed. Callum struck back, and his Bolgrams put all of their attacks into Colonel Strachan. A combination of his 5+ invul save and Not Dead Dog's bodyguard rule meant that Norp took 2 wounds, taking him down to 4 wounds. Callum then lost the remainder of his conscripts to a failed leadership test, and also the 2 remaining Scions in my table quarter also fled. So into my turn 3 and only scored 5 on primaries and nothing on engage or fronts, given the Bolgrams didn't manage to make that crucial charge. This put the cumulative scores at 42 for Callum and only 14 for me. Super poop. Turn 4 for Callum, and he did the right thing and moved his Inquisitor and Lord Commissar up towards Eisenhorn. He then moved an infantry squad up on his right flank to secure the top centre objective, and fed another infantry squad onto the bottom centre objective. Callum was brilliantly demonstrating how to feed objectives with multiple infantry squads. Psychic Phase saw his Inquisitor fail all his spells, and then he then issued the order forwards for the Emperor on several infantry squads that had advanced in that previous movement phase.
Forwards for the Emperor!
His tank commander then removed 4 of my infantry with its heavy bolter and destroyed my manticore with its 3 remaining wounds. His infantry then fired all its las guns and frag grenades into the Bolgrams, doing nothing. Callum then charged his Inquisitor into an infantry squad protecting Eisenhorn, and his Astropath charged my remaining infantry sergeant on the top centre objective. His Commissar, after a command reroll, also charged into some of my remaining infantry. The fight phase for Callum was a bit disappointing, with him rolling several 1s to hit and me rolling plenty of 5s to save.
3 attacks, and Commissar Gorn has failed.
Not Dead Dog and Colonel Strachan then traded blows with the remaining Bolgrams, with Not Dead Dog taking a further 3 wounds and 1 on Strachan. They did nothing in response, disappointing. The lone infantry sergeant did a bit better, slicing through the Astropath's t-shirt 6+ save, and my infantry squad protecting Eisenhorn did nothing against Callum's Inquisitor. So end of Callum's turn 4, and he had continued to push ahead, with 10 on primaries, 3 on Stranglehold, and a further 2 on Bring It Down. My turn 4 and I moved at the Bolgrams around the infantry holding the centre objective, and I advanced the infantry that had come in as reinforcements, and tucked away the wounded tank commander to deny Callum more Bring It Down points. I advanced a special weapons squad in the hope of getting them into another table quarter in turn 5, and I moved Eisenhorn round to face down Callum's Inquisitor. In the psychic phase, Eisenhorn failed to smite him, but succeeded to kill a single Bolgram through castigation. My tank commander hiding in cover then ordered the Basilisk to gunner's kill on sight. Strachan further pushed up the special weapons squad with move, and I put my 2 remaining mortar teams, the Bolgrams with Grenadier Gauntlet and single grenade, into the infantry in the bottom centre objective, removing only 1 of them. My Basilisk then squished 5 of his infantry camping on Callum's home objective, and my Demolisher, Lieben Russ, removed 5 infantry holding the centre top objective. My tank commander then managed to do some further wounds on Callum's single tank commander. My charges on the Bolgrams went into both infantry squads holding the centre top objective, and Eisenhorn and the accompanying demon host charged Callum's Inquisitor. The Bolgrams performed well, clearing out 6 infantry, and Inquisitor Eisenhorn then used his sword Barbarossator, which gave him a +1 to hit. Callum then failed 1 of his 5+ saves, and I rolled a 2 on the sword's d3 damage. Eisenhorn's demon host then slapped the Inquisitor with 5 strength 6 AP-3 attacks, taking down the Puritan Inquisitor, sent to execute the radical that is Eisenhorn. Excellent. Not Dead Dog then died protecting Colonel Strachan against the Bolgrams, and Callum's Lord Commissar sliced through the 2 remaining infantry, and he also piled in his infantry into my Bolgrams, which meant he was back on the objective and securing it, given they've got objective secured. So end of my turn 4, and I've got 5 on primaries and 2 on engage or fronts again. At this stage it was 57 to Callum and 21 to me. We would both score Retrieve Octarius data at the end of the game, and I also scored no prisoners, but at this stage it was looking pretty rough. Turn 5 was a quick affair for Callum, with his movement being pretty basic, and his tank commander using the stratagem load, fire, reload and pound into dust into my tank commander, however not managing to destroy it. The crucial part, however, was Callum's Lord Commissar charging Eisenhorn and killing him with his power sword. Eisenhorn only has a 4+ save and a 6+ feel no pain, so little chance against a power sword. A huge moment with a radical being killed by the Commissariat. My final turn, I moved up Lehman Russ Demolisher to flush out any units on his centre top objective, and the infantry squad from reinforcements to retrieve Octariot's data in the 4th table quarter. The Volgrams finally cleared off Callum's infantry holding the centre bottom objective. So final round, and Callum had scored 15 on primaries on 3 on Stranglehold, whilst I also scored 15 on primaries, given I scored at the end of my turn as I went second, and 2 more for engage all fronts. So before scoring retrieve Octariot's data and no prisoners for me, the scores were 65 for Callum and 38 for me. Callum scored a further 8 for retrieving 3 Octariot's data, and I scored 12 for retrieving 4 of them. I then scored a further 10 points for killing 100 wounds of Callum's infantry. This put our final scores at 83 for Callum and 70 for me. A fantastic game where Callum played brilliantly, holding on to his early board control and flooding the centre objectives. At the end of the game, I probably had about 1200 points left, with Callum having only about 500, so I clearly had won the shootout. More importantly though, the misunderstood Eisenhorn had died, but so had the Puritan Inquisitor sent to execute him. We both had a fantastic time, and the game understandably felt very balanced, given we're obviously playing guard vs guard and relatively non-cheese lists. A fantastic game, and I look forward to playing Callum's beautifully painted miniatures once again. So if you enjoyed this and you want to see more of this style of short battle report, show me some love with a like, comment or by subscribing. You can leave me a YouTube super thanks or join my Patreon platoon. The miniatures with the red nameplates are my current Patreons, with several of them heroically giving their lives on the tabletop today. So yep, thanks for watching. Patreon platoon, sound off. Lieutenant Mitchell, Colour Sergeant DuPont, Sergeants Brady, O'Dowell, Gilliam, Merrill, Veterans Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Witten, Guardsman Combs, Glenn, Hills, Nitton, Nguyen, Tom, Tompkin.